Good morning, everyone. So please check my voice. Is it clearly audible?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thank you all for coming here today. Good morning and welcome to all the respected speaker, dignitaries, and all the participants. I hope you are doing well and in good health. This is Muskan Gupta, Coordinator Disaster Risk Reduction at ROS India, Bhopal, and a DRR Fellow at Youth for Resilience. It will be my pleasure to be a part of this session. Today, we came together for the 3-day training program on making school resilient and safer, organized by NADM, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, in collaboration with Youth for Resilience. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Mr. Andrews Devarajan, who is going to talk us about the basic of comprehensive school safety. He is a manager, disaster risk reduction, humanitarian and emergency affairs at World Vision India. He holds a master degree in social work, social development from Madras Christian College. He has done an advanced diploma in logistics and supply chain management from Institute of Logistics. Over to you, sir.
Thanks for this invitation. I'm very glad this morning for all the participants who have joined from different parts of the globe. Uh, Youth for Resilience is very encouraging that they have taken this challenge of doing this course with regard to how schools will be started after ongoing COVID or post-COVID. What will be the scenario, how they will be starting the schools. That is one of the grappling issues that the government and every state government in the country, and in every country, this might be the challenge. If you all would have seen the plight of the first wave, the second wave, now every government is declaring in their connection, in their situation, how the third wave is going to take its own curve of the peak and how it will slide down, and what's going to happen with the education for the children. Because if we see, a lot of ups and downs are there during this time of pandemic, and it is a big challenge for the schools also. What type of mechanism that they may be in a position to follow uh, before COVID, during the pandemic, because most of them were ill prepared. Uh, how they will be starting the schools, what will be the precautions they will be follow. But uh, I'm a, when we have gone through, because comprehensive school safety is one of those areas we have started working since the year 2015. After the Sandai framework came into existence, we started working on this. We had a project on community resilience. So if we are in a position to make the a resilient community without children not being the part of that resilience, we cannot able to bring a resilient community. That's how we started this work, and we also collaborated with UNICEF in doing a project in West Bengal. But keeping West Bengal as a context, I would like to bring this study, uh, what we have learned and how this has been replicated in other states, in our working areas. That's what I would like to share this morning to everybody. Uh, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just an introduction, like why this, how this came into existence. We all know this impact, what the children go through if there is a natural disaster or any uh, any incident that will be damaging their education, that will be damaging their health, that will be damaging their future. There are many issues. Like we also saw a video just before when the session started, like schools were being attacked in various contexts in different nations. But in India also, like children go through a lot of challenge when the attack is upon them, even because they are not even part of it, but they succumb to the injuries, they succumb to the like accidents, they succumb to various like we cannot describe those situations that children go through. Like there are some of the situations like Dabawali fire tragedy, then Yamuna River in North Delhi killed around people. Children fell down into that because of an accident in 1997. Then we have teachers and children dying in 2001 earthquake. Then we have the Kumbakonam incident in southern India, where about 93 children were being, a fire happened in the school and there was no preparedness. And it was in a very hard situation for the families to go through. Then in midday meals were not properly like advised, or they were not properly provided to the children. There were some things happened and children died. Then there are many crimes and child protection issues happening and happened in the past. So keeping all this context into consideration, like NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, started this National School Safety Program. But National School Safety Program was very much in a phased manner, that they were concentrating mainly for those states which were under the disaster situation, like natural hazards wherever it was happening, like flood zones, like earthquake situation wherever it is happening in the northeast, some parts in the northern Bengal, somewhere in Bihar, somewhere in UP. But actually, school safety doesn't even happen because it does happen. But school safety is in a broader context. When we just see it comes into, it happens with other issues also. Protection issues, one of the main things when children are in school. Wash issues when children are in school. Then abuses that children face when children are in school. So those are the safety issues and security issues what the children go through when they are in school. And that becomes a challenge for them. That becomes their education is not, they couldn't complete the education, or they are put an end to the education. Their livelihood becomes an issue. The parents' livelihood becomes an issue. So children doesn't go to school. So those were some of the issues that are there. It's not only the national natural disasters, but rather other issues also made the school safety to come into a limelight in the late during this decade. Like when we just focus, World Vision started working since 2016 on the DRR and Community Resilience Project. Actually, we are the global signatories and partners with INGOs, focusing on the common agenda for school child well-being. So we started working in 20 states, covering around 70 districts. These 20 states are the states where we have our projects, wherever high child vulnerable issues are present. Whenever we start working in a project in a state, we go to those zones which are high, where there is high child vulnerable issues, touching around 200 plus thousand children, covering around 2009 schools, touching around 77,000 children lives, then training around 4,000 plus teachers. Then management committees were formed, school management committees were formed, the committees were being trained, and hazardous exercises were being done. So these are some of the things that we could achieve since 2016 up to 2020. Like it's a lot of challenge, but still the work is on. and we need to bring some sort of quality education for the children, because if there is going to be we cannot achieve education for all for not focusing when we are not focusing on those issues which put an end to the education, because the education need to improve. All these aspects has to be covered, and there should be a safe and secure education for the children. uh, Government can bring in a lot of synergy when we do this, when we put our hands together in making the children's lives better for their growth and for the education continuity. That is a broader agenda for doing comprehensive school safety and security program. So Bengal was taken up. We took a project in Bengal where we could do it in one of those flood affected zones in the northern Bengal, in a district called Malda. Uh, as you all know, this is the three pillars of school safety. Why I'm just putting this slide is like people need to know what what was the main, because this is a global school safety pillars that every country works with, and every child development or child focused IHGO is part of this, and they have also been a signatory for this particular three pillars of school safety, comprehensive school safety, and protect students, plan for the continuity of education, safeguard their education sector investments, and strengthen risk reduction resilience through education. That are some of those goals that comes out of this three pillars. Then we have the Sendai framework, which also prioritizes on the four priorities like understanding disaster risk, then strengthening the disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk, then investing in disaster risk reduction and resilience, then enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and build back better. And this covers every nation has taken this challenge to be in their part of their working. And when it comes to India, Prime Minister's 10-point program, that is one of the main areas of our work since 2017. Delhi AMC DRR, we all know Asian Ministerial Conference on DRR. So after this Asian Ministerial Conference on DRR in Delhi, Prime Minister's 10-point program, which become a vibrant for our working, and it is there. It's been created a synergy for how NDMA could work and how we could join as a civil society organization with the government to take up those objectives to work in those communities where the high child vulnerability issues are present. So that is one of the base for us to start working since 2017. So what is comprehensive school safety and security? Comprehensive school safety in a context of West Bengal, it takes learning from existing approaches to include broadly concerns related to school facilities and environment, various security and protection related issues faced by children, and risk arising out of hazards like natural and man-made hazards, like how we could bring those, because we saw comprehensive school safety as the three pillars of the global scenario. The same thing when it comes to how a safety net for children at school when they are in school, like home to school, school to home, and zero deaths in school, and attendance to increase. Those were the objectives that we kept on at the basis to see that there will be a safe and secure education for children. So school facilities needs to be properly maintained. The environment should be good for the kids who go to school. Maybe they are in the primary level or in the middle level or the higher level. At each level, there need to be a proper provision of services for them to acquire a better education. And there need to be a proper security and protection. because child protection issues while they are in school, that also means a lot, because protection need to be properly maintained for the kids and the students, for them to acquire a better education. And risk arising out of natural disasters while children are at schools, because that those are three areas that we concentrated with regard to comprehensive school safety and security things, when we took up this project. And these are three pillars of comprehensive school safety and security for us: safe school facilities and school environment, then protection from violences and other forms of abuse, then school disaster risk reduction. We see, when it comes to school facilities, healthy school drinking water, toilets, uh, checklist for structural risks, safe classrooms, then safe environment surround outside the school, a road, campus, playground, safety infrastructure, field trips, arrangements, whatever the school does. Because whatever the school does, it's for it is to facilitate the continuity of education, and those facilities need to be properly safe for children. So that's what the main objective is. The second comes the protection from violences and other forms of abuse, because children go through emotional, physical abuse. That is always there. Bullying is one of the things that, when it comes to other children. How could teachers be involved in some of those uh, abuses that happens in the school? Because that becomes an issue. If you just open the abuses that children go through while they are in a safe facility, because we parents send their children to school for the better education, that children are safe, children could be safe, and they could acquire a better knowledge, physical activity, because those are the children those are the things that we aspire for. I have my own children, like we aspire for the better education for them. But if that is going to be a violence on them, if that's going to be an abuse on them when they go to that facility to acquire education, that is not done. And how teachers can be trained for them in this facilitation. So that was one of our objective, like how teachers could be trained, because teachers see that they are only educators. They are not doing other forms of things. Like there will be a school, only one person will be involved in maintenance, only one person will be involved in first aid, only one person will be training, giving training them, training children in about resilience. So those are the things that were just happening. But now, after this comprehensive school safety program that we started working with the government of West Bengal, and the IAG, and with other civil society organizations, now the education department has taken a broader step to take school safety as one of the main focus for all the schools. And the GO has also come out, which facilitates the work. Then sexual safety for the children. Then mechanisms are in place to prevent like some sort of accidents when children are in school. Then the third pillar is about school disaster management, building a safety audit, like disaster preparedness, response plans, how schools will maintain this. It's not a one-time event. It has to have the school disaster management committee comes into action every year, because it is not a closed document that they just keep it. They do it at the one point and they just carry over with that same thing. No, it doesn't happen like that, because school has to maintain this, because we started working since 2016. But when we see in 2019 and 20, we see the pandemic issue also coming into schools. Like how will so the form of disaster risk reduction education, now it is changing. It is changing its own ways now. earlier we used to think the schools will have only protection issues, schools will have only like natural calamities that can happen in the schools, or how the facilities should be maintained. No, now there is a need for pandemic. If a pandemic happens, or during a pandemic, how a school could function, what are the areas that school need to undergo, the change is taking place, because we are also, it is an evolving situation, and we are also, and the situation is also very dynamic, and we are also learning, and we are also doing, and it has to go hand in hand. So that's what the risk reduction and resilience education, like how schools will have a curriculum where the children will be in a position to understand this, and how they will be in a position to just be a part of, raise their voice in, actually in this project, as we just when we did it, it was children who are part of the school disaster management committee. They were doing hazard and exercises. They were just voicing all the information, how the school should be, how an ideal schools should be. It's not with the uh, private schools, it's with the government schools that we did the project. So that was a success for us, and it is not only in those schools that we took as a sample. Now that is getting replicated in other schools and madrasas in all over Bengal. Then we could see here, these are some of the uh, like objectives for the CSSP: promote safe, secure, and positive environment, assist the school to enable children to assess and anticipate risk and take initiatives for reducing risk, and subsequently adopt a policy on the safety of children. Then delegate to define roles and responsibilities, for and accountability of school authorities. Then enable staff, because that is one thing we need to, because enabling them to see that the signs of safety violations, risks, and abuse, where the child requires protection and help. How teachers play a very vital role in helping and facilitating children's protection issues, because how they could counsel them, how they could provide support to them, because it is not only, it is the social worker's work, but whether there is a school social worker, whether there is a school nurse who does it, whether the class teacher, because that was very critical to provide them support and train them. But that was did continuously, one or two trainings, three trainings, and how a school social worker can be involved in the welfare of the children when it comes to the safety of the children and security of the children. Then establish to set in place the mechanisms for monitoring and review of the implementation, and because different states in India have a different way of working. But when it comes to school education, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan plays a larger role when it comes to middle education. And we have to work hand in hand, because as as I said, it's three departments coming together: children, then health, then wash components come into place, then we have child protection department comes into place, then education, because we are working, the broader objective is the continuity of education for the children. But all these line departments have to coordinate, and we need to have a proper mandate to see that child's welfare is taken care properly. If there is any chain, because it also goes through a lot of chain. If one link gets, if there is no proper link, then there will be a lot of issues. So that's what I would like to bring to the context. So CS is process, consensus and partnership, organization, consultation, draft. These were these were these were some of the processes that we did when we did this project. And then we had a consultation with the teachers about the guideline, about the training methodology. Then we trained the school teachers on how we will be in a position to just do them. what are the components that we will be keeping in school safety process. So those were the consultations that we had, because without the proper consultation with the teachers and government, we cannot be in a position to just, because there is a lot of coordination needed. uh, that is very critical. And if there is no proper coordination and if there is no proper linkage, then as a implementing agency, as a CSO, we become, it becomes a challenge on us. So the consultation process takes a lot of time and energy, and we need to do that, because at the end of the day, this has to get into the nerves of the school, because they think that safety is there around, but still there is a lot of challenge, because as long as things don't happen, there is no issue. But once the issue happens, there is a lot of challenge that goes on. This is how the process went. Children being consulted, children plan, because if there is going to be a safety net for them in the school, how they will plan, and how the mock drills will be conducted uh, in a month, how many mock drills. Initially, there need to be a lot of things, so that a lot of mock drills need to be conducted, so the children will know what type of methodology that the school will follow. And child leadership was created. So that was helpful, because we also learned by doing this. It is a challenge, and that is a process that's going through, because organizing the children and with a large number of children in one school is not a simple work. And school also helped us to see that these objectives are being able to be completed. And we also did a research to find out how the schools are taking this into their curriculum, actually in their planning, in their yearly planning, how they will be in a position, what type of methods that they use, and how that is getting into their the level of planning and implementing that and continuously monitoring that. So because that is very critical. uh, Coverage, we did it in Malda district. Number of blocks covered, uh, eight eight flood affected blocks were covered, around 100 schools were taken. Focal point teachers, around 100 teachers from 100 schools were taken. Students participated, around 4,000 students participated in doing the preparedness plans. Then total number of teachers, caregivers covered in comprehensive school safety and security project were around 2,000 plus caregivers and teachers were covered. Then total number of students benefited from class 5 were about 20, class 5 to 10 was around 21,000. Under the class, under the age group of 11 to 17, that is from 6th standard to 12th standard, again about 137,000 children were benefited. But these are all like, this was a process which went through for about 10 to 12 months. It was not, it was a process. We developed the curriculum, and that was trainings were given, and the follow-up was made, and it was rolled out. Once the rolling out was done, there was also a GO that came, that the government made into action, because as long as education department doesn't take this as a action, things will not work out, because it's all government schools. Because once we did it, the next year was this challenge of pandemic. But now again, there is a review going on how we will be in a position to just bring this pandemic issue also comes into the safety part of the school. Conclusion: effective functioning of school management committee need to be ensured, because school management committee is the committee which is a very critical, plays a very critical part for the participation of parents, teachers, so that safety and security is better managed in the school. If there is no participation, uh, then there is a challenge. But if there is a better participation, things will be going on very nice. But there was always the criticality of participation when it comes to the schools, because normally there is a monotonous way of working by the by the school authorities, but still the monitoring is a critical challenge. There should be a periodic reviews. Reviews need to be conducted by the Department of Education on all the relevant health and safety issues of each school. Because there is a school inspector in Bengal, that the working situation is a bit different when it comes to other states. Each state has the way of working, because here madrasas also are there, then schools are also, but it's all comes under the school education department. But here the 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 challenge is, it's not only the education department, but we are bringing in the disaster management and civil defense also plays a role. Then we have child, the state level child protection, that body plays a very critical role uh, with the school department, child and women, women and child development society plays a very important role, because that will create the synergy, that creates a synergy for the education department to move on. Because if there is no coordination between all these three offices, it's going to be a challenge. Then post the planning for safety and security measures within the school, ensuring these are sustained through various safety practices like newsletters, debates, because children always needs these things to, there need to be some sort of engagement which will provide a continuous monitoring, like how children, because one day was taken in a month, two Saturdays were taken as a day for Fridays were taken, Fridays, Saturdays were taken as a day for schools to do the mock drill. Then some competitions were organized about disaster management, like simple things. What are the do's and don'ts that they need to be very cautious about with regard to accidents, road accidents, cautious about natural calamities. Then we also brought in uh, a, a game called Abda Par Vijay. Abda Par Vijay is one of the games that World Vision is promoting for the children, because wherever we work in our projects, we have children clubs which are connected to the schools, local schools. Since we our focus is basically with the child development, we take this as a very critical challenge, bringing continuous training focus for the children, that they will take lead in knowing the disasters and addressing those issues in their community. Because this is the game's name is Abda. Abda means disaster. Actually, Abda means in Hindi, it is called disaster. So how they can have challenge, how they can like take their lead and become victory over disaster. So that is what it is. It is a simple game. It's in a life size room size big chart, and children could play the dice, and it's an information and also a game where children could participate with their and also they could learn like what they should do, do's and don'ts with regard to different hazards. And we are also trying to bring in the pandemic part into this. So how they will be, what practices they need to adopt with regard to the ongoing pandemic. Then lastly, ensuring that emergency crisis team is available in every district to reach out to each school. So that is also very critical, because in some states, in some part of the state, NDRF or SDRF is available, but they do operate only during the context of the disaster. But all the time they may not be. But when we started working with them, we connected with them with the school, but they were very much in many states. When we started connecting with the SDRF team, the fire safety team, these people were very organized, and we connected a bridge with the local schools, that now local schools are getting connected with these departments, so that for training purpose, for engagement, for rescue trainings, fire safety trainings, then first aid trainings, uh, these teams are getting connected with them. So once we start engaging, because it's not during the crisis, it's more on the preparedness, it's more on building resilience. Because if the resilience building is not done for the schools, then there will be a lot of issues which will be a challenge during the crisis. Because before the crisis starts, we need to see that how the resilience part is getting built. So we started it, now it is going on. We could see a lot of positive changes, schools getting engaged by themselves with these teams around the district. If they are available, they're getting engaged. If but still there is a challenge, like some districts doesn't have this. We need to bring in from outside. So we also consult with other people, other local bodies, that how they will be in a position to just do that. For that, we need to have a larger political support. It's not only from the school management, but we need to see, we are trying to get other political support from the government also. So the CSV program should be extended, include school authorities, teachers, children across the private, beside the government schools. Because that is what we are trying to see, how that bridge, that gap should be. We need to fill that gap. This could be done if district education departments are empowered and given access to private schools. Further, the policy needs to be looked into how out of school children should be brought into the framework of the safety and security program. So that is also now it's going on. We are trying to see that how we will be in a position to just that's an ongoing program. Since teachers are the best medium to reach the students, and hence they need to be properly trained, because training teachers should be continuous. But we need to have a team in every district to sensitize, regular trainings and conduct. That's what we made a manual, a training manual for the teachers. Then we had a guideline. Then we have the 3 documents where the primary key documents that we could bring out of this when we started working with the government with regard to comprehensive school safety and security. Yeah, that's what I would like to share this morning. This is about the comprehensive school safety and security. Now this is, we started that as a project, but now that is getting into other states. Our education, we work on 4 areas. World Vision works in 4 areas. One are the health of the children, then protection, then education, last is the livelihood. This is our focus wherever we work in this nation. Like in India, we work in around 22 states, and in those states where there is high child vulnerable issues are there. So thanks for this opportunity that we could meet and I could share about comprehensive school safety and security. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. I know you are busy, but it will be great. Like after the 2 speakers will speak, you can stay in this program, and in the end you can answer some of the questions. I know you are busy, but it will be like really great. Sure. And I will also request you. You mentioned a lot of documents which was developed by World Vision. So it will be great if you can share with us, and we will make sure to share all the documents with all the
Sure, Nitish.
participants.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Over to you, Muskan.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Anil Kathayat. He is a junior consultant, GMR division NADM. He is going to share his words on preparing DM plan for school. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen first. Can you confirm if my screen is visible?
Not yet, sir. Now visible, sir.
I hope it is in slideshow mode.
Yes, sir. Now it's public.
So once again, thank you very much, and good morning to all the panelists as well as the participants who have joined us in this 3 days training program. My previous speaker, Mr. Andrews, have already discussed the impacts of disasters on the children's, also providing insights on the various disasters where children were victims, and also he shared the initiatives that are taken by his organization, World Vision India, for the safety of the children and for the resilience of our schools. Basically, schools, as you know, schools are densely crowded area with a huge concentration of our teens, our small children who are among society's most vulnerable populations when you talk about in terms of the victims of any catastrophic event. And it has been demonstrated time and again that schools and our school children are the most affected during any disastrous event. And like Swami Vivekananda has said that my future of the hope of the future lies in the youth of the character, intelligence, all for the service of others, and also obedient, good to themselves and as well country at large. So when you see this youth, they makes up more than half of the world's population. They stand to gain the most from the reducing disaster risk and damage. And when disaster strikes, our children, our youth are often the first, and they are the most the vulnerable section of our society, with extremely huge consequences on their physical, on their mental health, and as well as it also impacts the access to education, the economic prospects, as well as exposure to violence. So it is critical to have a school disaster management plan in place to mitigate the sustainability, particularly for our schools. If schools are better prepared for any disaster, they can also take the lead in disaster response in the community. And as a result, the school as an integral element of our society, it also bears responsibilities for the safety of its students in their immediate surroundings, just as the neighboring community is tied to the schools. As well as when you see our Disaster Management Act 2000 that was enacted in 2005, the particular section, the section 37 of that Disaster Management Act 2005, it mandated that every ministry department of every department of our government of India, it shall have a disaster management plan, and that should be aligned with our national disaster management plan. As you may be knowing, we are having our national disaster management plan that was formulated in year 2016, and it was revised in year after 3 years, 2019. So the section 37 of our DM Act, it mandate the mandate of that 37 section 37 is also applicable to all the organization, to all the institutions, academicians, universities, as well as school, to prepare their own disaster management plan in accordance what we have at national levels. when you talk about the objectives, what should be the objectives of school disaster management plan? So the basic objective of the school disaster management plan is to ensure the safety of our children's, safety of the staff, whether it is a teaching staff or non-teaching staffs, and the component that I will be covering during my talk. It includes a profile, hazard, risk, vulnerability, and capacity analysis, as well as I will also be talking about the preparedness and mitigation measures, school evacuation map planning, as well as how we can enhance the capacity of our staff of the schools, our children, as well as response. Also to include some points will be there on the to include disaster risk reduction and resilience in the school curriculum. So an important element of the school disaster management plan is we have to first know about that particular school, the profile of school, general information like what are the total number of students, what are the total number of staffs, and it will also be containing a brief description of the physical location of the schools, surrounding areas, what are the vulnerabilities according to the geographical location of that particular schools, like if the school that is situated in hilly region, it will be more vulnerable to the earthquakes, landslides. So geographical location of school is also important. And this profile will also include number of students. We can also describe how many are males, how many are females, and number of especially abled children. It should be also clearly mentioned in the profile of the schools. And also the construction of the school compound, number of the school buildings, what type of the buildings is available within the school, number of the classrooms. It will also include the labs, whether it is chemistry labs, physics lab, or biological labs. We need to also include how many floors are there. So basically, this school profile, whatever information as much as we can provide, we need to provide about the schools. We can also provide information about the number of fire Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now you're audible. We lost you in between.
Okay.
And your camera is off.
Maybe there's some network issue. So after the description of the school profile, the very first for effective planning process, the first and important step is we need to understand our Is there any issue with host network, or the issue is with mine?
I think you are facing some network issue.
Give me a second. Let me check. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I was talking that for any effective planning process, it is important and first step that we need to understand our strength, we need to understand our weakness and threats we are prone to. So first we need to go for hazard analysis, then vulnerability, capacity, as well as risk analysis. The rest of the activities for the disaster management, for school disaster management plan will be derived from our how good analysis is our about the hazard, vulnerability, capacity, and risk analysis. Vulnerability, when you talk about vulnerability, it is the ability to resist hazard or to respond when a disaster has occurred. And it depends, vulnerability depends on various factors like it will depending on the age, it will depending upon the state of health, local as well as local environment. As when you talk about the infrastructure of school, it will be vulnerability will be also defined on the basis of quality, on the basis of state of the local buildings of the schools and their location with respect to any hazards. And when you talk about capacity analysis, basically capacity, it is the combination of all strengths, combination of attributes and resources that are available within our schools. Capacity can also be defined as a coping capacity. What is the coping capacity of any schools, which is the ability of our schools, of our the skills available within the school to manage any adverse conditions or any adverse risk of any disasters. So the capacity to cope, it will require continuing awareness, it will require resources, as well as good management, both in normal times as well as during any catastrophic or any emergency situations. We need to assess our capacity of the school. This capacity assessment, it is the process by which the capacity of any organization is reviewed against the desired goal, where exiting capacities are identified for maintenance, for the strengthening and capacity. Also, we identify the capacity gaps that can be filled in capacity assessment. And capacity development, it is enhancing the capacity. It is the process in which people or in which we need to enhance the capacity of our school staffs, of our children, systematically to and develop their capacity over time to achieve the goal of our school disaster management plan. And the last the risk that is the expected damage loss due to the combination of the vulnerability and hazards. So basically school or our children, they are considered at risk when they are unable to cope with any hazardous situation. And when a disaster occurs, it with a significant number of vulnerable people that are experiencing a hazard suffer from severe damage. They suffer from disruption of their daily routine in such a way that recovery is unlikely without any external assistance. So basically, when you say risk, the disaster risk is the probability of harmful consequences and expected, what are the expected loss in terms of deaths, in terms of injuries, or it will also include the economic activity disruption or damage to our environment. So basically, like I mentioned, the first step towards any disaster management plan is that we need to understand, we need to enhance our understanding of the risk that we are likely to face. So the plan should identify the school disaster management plan should identify the potential hazard that will frequently occurring in the geographical area where the school is situated, and This can be done through a hazard assessment based on the historical history of the disasters that have occurred in that geographical area for, you can say, over 20 or 25 years. And this hazard assessment, it could also be carried out by the students of that particular school under the guidance of their teacher within the school premises, or it can be also conducted in their neighboring areas. So students can also be involved in identifying the evacuation routes in case of if there is any emergency, like you can say if there is any fire emergency. So every student should know what is their evacuation routes, what are the safe area to go in any emergency situation, as well as structural safety of exiting infrastructure. It should also be need to assess with regard to safety from various hazards. For this structural safety assessment, school can invite to the technical experts from the line department of their particular groups. Preparedness, as you know, it consists of the knowledge, it consists of the capacity that is required to effectively anticipate, to effectively respond or recover from the impact of whatever the likely or immediate or current disaster situation is there. So this preparedness action, it carried out within the context of disaster risk management, and it aims to build the capacities that is needed to efficiently manage all the type of emergencies and achieve orderly evolution from response to sustained recovery. And basically, this preparedness is based on the sound analysis of the disaster risk and good linkage with early warning systems, and it includes activities such as this contingency planning. The school should stockpile this equipments, the supplies, food supplies, and the deployment of the arrangement for coordination with other line departments that are around the schools. Also to prepare evacuation plans, and also to inform the neighboring community. And this must be supported by formal, institutional, legal, and as well as there should be some provision of budget from to carry out this preparedness activities. As you know, practice makes one perfect. So there is need to practice the strategies that are formulated for disaster prevention, not on this when there is an emergency, but also during a normal period, so that we can effectively manage any crisis situation. Mitigation measures. There is another term, prevention. Basically, prevention is to block the occurrence of a disastrous event, or you can say to prevent occurrence of such event that will have any harmful effects on our people or on our built infrastructures. On the other hand, when you talk about mitigation, these are the steps that are intended to reduce the effects of any emergency situation. Where prevention is to ensure that human actions or any natural phenomena, it doesn't result in any disasters. And basically, the objective of prevention is to reduce the risk of being affected by a disaster. Even if the hazard cannot be removed, vulnerability can be decreased, and in case of an impact, the capacity to withstand or to respond or to recover will be stronger. And when you talk about this mitigation measures, it can be structural one, it can be non-structural one. Non-structural one, like it will include laws, it will include certain norms, rules, guidelines that will empower the school authority to enhance their disaster resilience of their schools, and as well as safety of their students. Every school should have their evacuation plan ready with them. So it is recommended to prepare a floor-wise evacuation plan, and it should display prominently at the notice board at each of the floor of the school building. And the evacuation plan, it should be discussed with whoever the team, evacuation team who have this draw this evacuation plan with this teaching staff, non-teaching staff, as well as with the students, so they have better understanding of that evacuation plan. And basically, the school can also have a mock drills for the evacuation plans. Mock drills, these are the way of listing the preparedness plan. We can also have a mock drills like for earthquakes, like for any fire emergencies, and so on, that may be conducted by every school, of course, with a periodical interval. Apart from this mock drills, our schools can also invite other line departments, experts, or experts from National Disaster Response Force, or State Disaster Response Force, or from experts from fire services or other trained civil defense for the mock drills. Capacity enhancement and training. See, you have already know what are the risks that are to which your school is more vulnerable. After that, you have to take certain mitigation measures so that you can reduce the impact of that particular hazards on your school, on your children. After that, we also need to work on the capacity enhancement, not only for the teachers, but for our students also. So once your plan is formulated, there will be need to have to enhance the capacity, the required institutional as well as human resource capacities. So schools should have regular schedule of such capacity enhancement measures for their staffs, for their students. Apart from enhancing the capacity, the communication, it also plays a very important and crucial role in plan implementations and in management of disasters. And there will be need for both type of communication, internal communication and external communication. Internal communication, the communication that will be within the school, and external communication, with other stakeholders of disaster management during various phases of disaster management. So strategies should be prepared accordingly, and disaster like this disaster management, basically it is a multi-dimensional, multi-level and multi-stakeholder issue. So it required horizontal as well as vertical linkage of all the concerns stakeholders for effective implementation of that plan. So every school should need to strengthen this communication, internal communication, as well as the communication with other line departments, so they can also help the school to implement their school disaster management plan. As and linkage, like there should be a linkage with other line department with the schools for enhancing the capacities, or a propose of help that is required during or after any emergency situation. Response, when you talk about the response, these are the steps that taken immediately after receiving any early warning from the relevant authorities. So here the coordination is very important. Line departments can issue early warnings of any impending hazards or impending disaster to school, or so that the school can prepare itself, can prepare its teachers, students for any impacting disasters. So basically, the primary goal of response to disaster is to save lives. We need to save our children's. And after that, we will be looking for to protect our infrastructure, our built environment, and also to meet the basic needs of the people and other living being after the disasters. And it's basically the focus of a response is to rescuing those that are affected, those that are likely to be affected by any disasters, and this timely and proper deployment of human resources and sequencing of actions to be taken. It will be make our response effective. So whenever you are going to prepare your school disaster management plan, so this responsibilities of each you can see each staff, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, as well as students, should be clearly spelled out in the response plan, who will be playing what role in your response plan, so that at the actual time of emergency situation, everyone knows what they need to do, as well as on transmission of and receiving this early warning. It will also make a big difference. So here we need this coordination, better coordination with other line departments. And for this, the plan needs to clearly lay down the structural and procedural details of early warning with responsibilities and formats that will be used. And basically, any crisis, it demands a swift response in order to preserve lives, to limit the damage, and to prevent additional disasters. And the first responder is always the affected community. So apart from this coordinating with other line departments for help during any response, our school human resource should be capable of responding its own until unless any outer help is received to them. And this youth can be a big assets in disaster preparedness and recovery efforts, and they can also students can also participate in a variety of youth preparedness program. They can play important role in recovery efforts. They may students can also help the communities to know about their vulnerabilities, their risks, and they can map the to help. They can help the community to map their risks and the protective measures they should adopt to be safe from any emergency situations. And basically, if our youth is prepared, it can make a big difference by sharing what they have learned in their school about this preparedness program, or anything. They can share it with their family. They can share it with their community, so that they can also be better prepared for any disaster situations. And in this our school children can also help community to develop their emergency plans, or emergency kit for to face any emergency situations. And other important part that we need not to miss is the budget. Budget is an important component of the plan, and a plan and a disaster management plan can't be successful without any suitable budgetary provision. So every school should need to have a budgetary provision for different activities for different phases of disaster management. According to their disaster management plan, basically a plan is it is a dynamic and action-oriented document. So it will also require to be updated. Like I mentioned, our national plan was prepared in 2016, and it was also revised in year 2019. Likewise, every school, when their school disaster management plan is prepared, they should have there should be also a provision periodic update, periodic improvement of their plan. So a system for its development, a system for its implementation, who will be reviewing that plan, who will be revising that plan, should be clearly laid down in that plan itself. So another important aspect it is that we need to learn from each disasters. Disasters can serve as basically a laboratory where we can know what are our gaps, what are our weak points. It can be a best practice. We can learn the lessons from this past catastrophic event, and we can fill the gaps of that plan by learning the lessons of past disaster situations. And we need also look to incorporate disaster risk reduction in the school curriculum. As there is saying that education is not filling of a pot, but lighting of a fire. So the goal of mainstreaming DRR in education should not constrain merely to give the a degree in disaster management. We have to aim how to blend the disaster risk reduction in education. That will be beneficial for the health of our society, as well as for injecting the awareness, preparedness, as well as prevention in the veins of the country for a disaster resilient India. So in this, our academic institution, our schools, universities, they can become a big actor in achieving the goal of last mile connectivity for disaster preparedness prevention, and also in cultivating the culture that is much needed, the culture of safety and resilience. So we need to be prepared for any forthcoming disastrous events by developing culture of safety and culture of resilience, by developing and this development of culture of safety and resilience will not happen overnight. So it will take time and collective efforts from each and every one of for every individuals. And basically this when incorporating the DRR in school curriculum, it will facilitate our this agenda of to develop a culture. For developing culture of safety and resilience, we need to incorporate disaster risk reduction in the school curriculum. So I would like to quote, there is a quote from Edward Dioglio. Disasters are called natural as if nature were the executioner and not the victim. Basically, human are habitual of blaming the nature for everything, for the nightmares that are fabricated by our own activities. And like everyone is talking about the climate change, but it is not any new phenomena. Climate change, it is a part of nature. It is there since the inception of our this planet. But our insatiable hunger of development without taking any appropriate consideration of the nature of the unsustainable exploitation of our earth resources, it has made major concern that is impacting every sector of the life. Like current this from 2019, we are facing COVID-19 pandemic that initiated as a public health emergency and turned into socio-economic crisis, not only in our country, worldwide, and put question marks on our preparedness for any unpredictable catastrophe. Already billions of investment is already being made for the COVID-19 response and recoveries. But the question is that are we really in business to implement the disaster risk reduction and resilience strategies that have set by major guidelines, major agreements at national or international platform. We always talk about preparedness. We always talk about mainstreaming the DRR, climate change adaptation, but how much our efforts are implementing this strategy. So we need to focus more on implementing and more on outcome-based approach is what that is needed in today's time. So this with this, I will conclude my talk, and back to you, back to the host.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening words as you explained that how to plan for the DRO. Thank you, sir. Now, I
Thank you
would
very
like
much.
to invite Ms. Rekha Lala. She is a CIS certified expert in climate change and sustainability. She is also a Buddhist scholar. She has been an educator for over 24 years, teaching in the best schools of Kerala and Delhi. She has taught science for 24 years and was also the head of Peri Prakriti School, Gurgaon. Ms. Lala holds master's degree in botany. She is an environmentalist who has been trained by Nobel Prize winner A.I. Gore and a climate leader. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Muskan. Can I share my screen? All right, I can.
Yes.
So my topic today is why teach disaster risk management and climate action in school. So I'll just take you to what we have been seeing. I think it was 2020, we started with COVID-19. And when we started COVID-19, it was like a scare. I think in my life of 55 years, I haven't seen something like this. But my new generations, next generation and next to next generation will see this more often. Why? Because I think we have 1.3 billion population. We are the huge population in India, and we have literally moved into the forest. So all the zoonotic diseases which are a part of, which are the part of only the wild animals, now they are going to be with us. They have spilled over to us. So that's why I think, and recently we have been seeing this cyclones have become very strong. This is cyclone Tauktae, which was the strongest storm ever to make landfall on India's west coast. So these storms have become quite often. What we thought that initially it was 1880 when we thought that these cyclones would have only 5 in 1 or 2 in 5 years. Then we thought that we had projected that by 2030 we would be having only 5 in number. But I think recently, this last year only, we have seen 7 of them. And 7 of them, and that too. So these risks, why this is happening? Again, as a teacher, I think I have to explain it why that is happening. We have India or a world as a blue planet. That blue planet is 70% covered by water. That water, the salty ocean water, when it warms up with the heat of the sun, that develops a low pressure area. The low pressure area creates hurricane or cyclones like this. And they are becoming more and more, especially the coastal areas, they are going to be affected. So once, even we have seen in Odisha, there are villages which have lost their houses and they have to move in. And there are countries which have to buy land. So this is what is happening. We are having more and more of cyclone. This is Amphan. This is Tauktae. This is Amphan, which has destroyed and damaged India as well as Bangladesh and even Sundarbans. As per the IPCC report, flash floods, a sizzling temperature, drought, and intense cyclones are likely to occur in India due to climate change and will continue to devastate regions of South Asia under drastic measures I think we need to take to curb the emission of air pollution is there. And where I live in Delhi, there are schools. I think it was 2016 when the schools were closed because of air pollution. Air pollution has become so much. It was not only the COVID-19 which has taught us, which has introduced us to the mask. It was air pollution which introduced the students to mask and sanitizers. And that time, So this is one thing is the cyclone, which is going to be more and more in the coming future. And see, this is what it caused. It has been noted that the children are the most adversely affected by the natural hazard, suffering both physical and mental trauma. Various studies have shown that overall reduction in learning and a drop in attendance and lower academic. And schools now, if we see and go back, it's been 1 year they are working from home. So obviously their learning is what has suffered for long. And this is 1 week after Cyclone Tauktae ravaged Western India. Cyclone Yas also forced evacuation of 1.1 million people in Eastern India and neighboring Bangladesh. So this is the picture if you see on my screen. And this is what Mumbai is. Whenever, every time there is rainy season in the months of July, this is the scene we observe. Given the severe impact of climate emergency on economic and social development of vulnerable communities, especially the poor, it is important to build resilience. I think we need to build and see that our students or our young ones, they are safe and they are learning. And because then this is Bangladesh, the Sundarbans are finished. Amphan has killed it. All over our crops, they say, even the trees have been destroyed. So more than 1 million people have already been migrated. See the situation, how it is. This is Maharashtra state, India. More than 180 people died in flooding and landslides. Further collapse and severe damage of infrastructure such as school building during disaster disrupts the education process. Limited access to school also result in many students dropping out or losing interest. And when we are online due to COVID-19, most of the students, I think 50% of them, they don't have access to education because they don't have that much of a good internet and a smartphone or a computer that is required. So that has not been happening for the past 2 years. This is Bihar, India. 2020 monsoon rainfall in Bihar was 50% higher than normal. India's super monsoon became 2020's deadliest climate disaster with more than 1,900 deaths. So that is what is happening, areas being submerged. So we also did a mapping and saw that worldwide extreme weather catastrophe. If you see the red one, that is the extreme weather and drought conditions, fire, and blue one is the flood, mudslides. If you see 1980, they were very little, these storms. The yellow part is the storm. So they were very little. Slowly they are increasing. And by 2020, you see more of floods and mudslides. Extreme temperature almost remains the same, but floods and mudslides are becoming more and more. And that is what is affected. And types of infrastructure which are going to be at risk from the extreme temperature are dams, flood barrier, drinking water system, sewage system, even our roads, because we love concretization. I think that's why I think when we concretize everything, the water does not percolate down. That's why it causes also flooding on the roads. Our bridges, they are breaking away because of mudslides and all. Airport runway, train tracks, power plant, power lines, internet, telephone lines, these are going to be affected. Our buildings, foundation, storm water drainage, subways, agriculture. These are the extreme weather conditions we are going to see in the coming years. When we talk about water, I don't think we have enough of water when we say 70% of the earth is covered by water, and that's our blue planet. But the blue planet, how much of that water is available to us? Only 1% of that is available to us. Otherwise, it's salty ocean water. We have less of potable water. We have 1.3 billion population in India, but only 50% of population gets piped water. So when you open your tap, and see the water is coming, then you are I think the luckiest 50% which is getting water. So how climate change is affecting the water availability? So water is affecting the runoff, drought, and sea level rise is having. Melting of ice. Northern India, if you see, most of the rivers are formed after the melting of glaciers. I really wonder and really feel scared what will happen if all the Gangotri Glacier, Yamunotri, if they all go away. If there is no glacier, how would we get the rivers? And Northern India, from where would they get the water? Our industries is going to be affected. Domestic use also is affected. That has an increase in demand. So agriculture, again, increase in demand. Energy also increase in demand. As the temperature rise, so does the water use, because we need more water for people, for crops, for energy, even for industry and animal. So do we have that much of water available to us? I don't think so. From every 1% of the warming, lightning strikes increases by 10 to 12%. I'm just telling you a few of the climatic changes, or few of the changes which are happening into our environment. And that's why I think we have to tell the young ones that they need to prepare, because whatever the damage has we have done is done. And now they are going to be the sufferer for that. In 50 years, 1/3 of the world's people could live in place where the average summertime high temperature is more than 40 degrees centigrade. So, or higher. So that means there are going to be areas in South Asia or India which are going to be unlivable. People can't live there because of the high temperature. They will become uninhabitable. So that is also one big worry. In India, summer heat may soon be literally unbearable. This is what I was talking about. The rate of ice melt in the Himalayas has doubled since year 2000. So wait till you see something. And even if you see the rivers in India, they are the most polluted one, all of them. I live in Delhi, and when I go and see the river, it is all frothy. This is the water I'm getting. Sometimes then I wonder, is this the river providing water to me? What have we done to our systems? Then this is Uttarakhand. This was February 2021. The floods and subsequent dam collapses killed at least 74 people. 1 month after the event, 130 people were still missing. We are still looking for the lives are lost, because these are the natural calamities and happening, and they have become more severe and more they are having. Top 10 cities at risk of sea level rise by 2070. In that, if you see, Kolkata and Mumbai are the first one. Rest of they're in all the world, but two cities which are the coastal regions, Kolkata and Mumbai, they are the first one. They are going to be submerged. What would happen? What would happen? And I think we need to tell our young ones that this is going to be happen. You need to do some measures. As I say, 75% of all the new emerging infections or diseases are zoonotic, meaning they are transmitted from animals to human. We are so much in population that we are, after cutting down forest, we have literally moved into the areas of wild animals. So the diseases which were a part or life cycle of those wild animals, now they are spilling over to humans, maybe through some infection. Ebola passed on, SARS, MARS, and COVID-19 reached India. But rest of those diseases, rest of those infections which again was zoonotic, they never reached India. But yes, they also was caused by the wild animals. They also generated from the wild animals. And yes, so these zoonotics will become maybe different name. Today we are calling it COVID-19. Maybe the next time we give a different name, just like we are giving to cyclones. We have a list of diseases which have given different names, but they will become more and more frequent because of the massive amount of carbon dioxide we are emitting. World's ocean are now 30% more acidic on an average than there were also after industrial revolution. So imagine this carbon dioxide which we are emitting, and world's ocean are now acidic. So what would happen when the ocean is acidic? So that means the marine animals, those who are there, they are the sufferers. They can't live in the acidic environment. They can't live in the hot or acidic environment of that. Even our mangroves, which are the barriers, which act as a barrier between the land and the water, and they I think they are the protectors for us. They protect the land from the ocean's saltiness, salinity, and they are decreasing in number. And that is also a cause of worry. These are the uninhabitable zones. If you see by this is a projection actually by 2070, if you see more of them are also in India. India is there are severe where they are going to be. Current condition says this darker one, and the projection says 2070 India is going to have a lot of places which will become uninhabitable. So the changes which we thought would happen after 30 years by 2030, we are seeing now. We are at a risk of losing our 50% of our land-based species in this century. The climate crisis is also an extinction and biodiversity crisis. So I think when a climate crisis is affecting everyone, the human beings, which are the greediest one and have taken so much, so it is also affecting the animals. There are a lot of species which are lost due to this. So what should we do? Educating the young generation, I think, telling them, I think it should be a part of their curriculum. They should understand this is what I have to do. Education is the one which prepares the vulnerable community to learn how to cope with such events. Introducing disaster management in the curriculum should be prioritized. I think children must learn about disaster management, but in a manner that does not overburden them. A creative approach could help familiarize them with the surroundings and provide insight into the disaster risk reduction, preparedness, measure, and relief, emergency relief and long-term recovery. How can they do it? I think we need to prepare our younger generation. Creative methods, maybe a cardboard game, maybe a card game, repurposing unused physical spaces in schools and colleges, art and music workshop, maybe a mock drill can be used to impart awareness through about disaster. This will establish an active, experiential, and participatory learning process between the learner and institution to develop a concept of resilience, how to anticipate, absorb, adapt to such disaster event. Thus, the school curriculum or the college also should have hybrid approach where traditional wisdom and local knowledge, I think that is what we are losing. We have such knowledge and traditional knowledge. We need to, I think, preserve that. Can be used to prevent and mitigate social, economic, psychological effects of natural hazards. We need to empower our young generations. India traditionally has been a reactive towards disaster and focused valuable resource on relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. Future generations are the potential catalyst of change to build resilience in their communities. As a result, it becomes integral to empower them to explore and learn these essential life skills. Introducing this in the curriculum, which will inculcate compassion, accountability, empathy towards the affected and vulnerable community. I think we need to do some awareness to them about disaster management in curriculum of school, colleges, university, make educated youth address their crises through knowledge, self-confidence, survival skills in a lesser time, awareness among the student community to help build a better, stronger, and resilient nation. So I work in Climate Reality Project India, and we also have designed a curriculum or something that is called an audit program for the schools. That is called the Green Campus Program, where we enable the school to conserve natural resources, use less water, so that they can map what they are using. what kind of resources they are using, and how they can calculate and audit and see that consumption, and how can they reduce their footprint, they need to calculate their carbon footprint. So the schools, to optimize energy efficiency, generate less waste, teach climate change and sustainable education, and address the well-being of children. So this is what we have done. So we divided this program into 3 parts: awareness, action, and awards. In awareness part, we take workshops not only for the student but for the teachers. We think the teachers are the one they can address to the students, or maybe a physical education teacher, music teacher also can take that workshop. Why not? Because in their own way they are addressing a group of students. They can talk to the students and tell them how and what they need to prepare, and what is happening, at least the current scenario they should tell them. We have already been in the states of Delhi, Himachal, Odisha, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Punjab. We have already trained 1,800 teachers, and we are in, our mode of program is English, Hindi, Odia, and Marathi. And our content is where we have created a lot of content, which is eelab.info. We have comics, workbook, presentation, video, anything on SDGs and climate change. We have kept it for the teachers to download and take it from there. So we want them to measure their energy, their green cover, their water conservation, waste management, and eco-friendly commuting, what all they are doing. So in that, when we say clean energy, we want school to ensure at least 5% of the annual total energy consumption should come from the alternative sources of energy. And we want them to use energy efficient devices and star rated appliances, so that they can reduce their energy bills. And we know that students, they spend, not for the past 2 years, but yes, they spend 60% of their time indoors in the schools and they're of their lifetime. So we want a green cover to be there for schools, 20% of the site area to be vegetated. We talk to the schools, tell them and how to do it. We go about it. So water conservation practices also we want to them to, because I feel that this is the future. Rainwater harvesting is the future for us. When northern area, we don't have the rivers, we don't have the water. What should we do? So we, I think, should adopt rainwater harvesting methods and ensure to capture at least 25% of the runoff volume from roof and non-roof. We want school to have water efficient practices to conserve water. Then waste management. I think each one, when you go and see the landfill, huge mountains of landfill, what have we done with our structure? Why didn't we manage at source? Why didn't we segregate at source? So that is what we do. We train and we tell teachers that please do it in your school, so that the students can learn and do it at home. Two-bin systems everywhere in the classroom, in the corridor, in your playground, so that you can haul that and generate and make your own compost and use it for your plants. If they understand how to deal with that, I think we will not have the mountains and of landfill sites. They should not go, their weight should not end up in the landfills. So eco-friendly commuting, we want green schools to ensure and minimize their environmental impact on automobile use. So maybe students can have a bicycle if there is, that is safe. They can walk, and maybe days they can celebrate where there is no mode of transport, or they can have a carpool, or they can have a public transport, and students and schools can help them in it. We have already, I think that green campus certificate we award to school. We have awarded to different schools after documentation, verification, and a site visit. We have already awarded a lot of schools. So this is our function unfortunately, it was happened in only 2019 and 2020 and 2021. Due to COVID-19, we never had a physical function, but we have given them a certification online only. We have sent it to them. Inshallah, we will have it next year. The same certification and award ceremony where all the teachers and students, they come in and they feel so overjoyed that they have learned about climate change and resilience. So I think that we need to teach our future generation about this. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really useful and wonderful presentation. And now we have time for question and answer. Anyone who wants to ask any questions to all our speakers, all are right now here. You can ask them. You can write in the chat box, or you can just raise your hand. We can unmute you from here.
Ojas Dubey has raised hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ma'am, this question is for Rekha, ma'am. Ma'am, I was wondering that is there any method to test the infrastructure of school buildings, that what's their strength and durability to withstand, like earthquake or any other disaster?
So that's why I was telling and I was introducing the program which we have devised, and that is a kind of an audit program. So you need to audit your systems, what resources you have in school and what kind of things you have in the schools. So that is kind of a whole dossier which you need to check, not only in the school, maybe at home also the students can check how resilient they are. So I think it's a huge kind of a some 100-pager which you need to go through and do that.
Okay, ma'am, one follow-up question, that will government authorities or bureaucrats oversee this program or go to schools to check by themselves?
Why not? Why not? They are also part of it. They should do it, and they would do it. They are also one of us. They are also one of our sufferers like us. What we are suffering and how we are going, maybe dealing with maybe something else. The way they deal with it is some other way. But yes, they are also the sufferers. So they should find solutions. That is what I request them, and that is what I expect them.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Just want to add, Ojas, for your question, if your area or where the place is in the earthquake zone, so there are structural engineers who do this vulnerability and the mapping of the infrastructure, and you can contact especially the civil engineers. And even if you just Google search it, there are certified engineers by government who can do this analysis. If your place is in the disaster management zone, sorry, earthquake zone. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Tran, thank you.
Yes. So thank you so much for the three presentation. I think it's so good. I would like to ask first for Andrews from World Vision. So I would like to ask him. For his project, so what his think about the best age for the project intervention, because I saw in the presentation he's mentioned that the age of the group of 5 to 10, so from class 1 to 5. But then if we teach for the children many subjects like on DRR and child abuse and other things, so for the children from class 1 to for example, is it any difficulties, because I think they quite small, and also that how about the role of the children in the project For example, like the teachers teaching on the things to the children, or the children, do they have any space to check, to share, or to talk to other children about DRR or child abuse, for example? Yeah. And
Oh,
also
yeah.
I have one question for Miss Rekha Lala as well, but should I ask now as well?
Okay. Can I speak?
Yeah, sure. Understand.
Okay. See, there is always a challenge when we just teach the young kids, because older children are they are able to be nurtured or trained, but when it comes to small children, there is a way that we could approach them. What we have done is we have, like, for example, with regard to protection issues, we have a simple curriculum, like knowing their body and who is touching them, where are the areas in their body, who touches in what way. So those are the things that we teach them, that they understand.
Yeah.
That will provide them the support in what way they are protected, and who is protecting them, whether it's their parents, how is their behavior, how is their parents' behavior with them, their relatives, how is their behavior with them, their teachers, the third person, the fourth person, what type of mannerisms or communications they bring in with the children. So these are small books in different languages that we impart with. It's in a cartoon form. Children easily understand that, and they also reciprocate back and say what they have understood and how they will be in a position to express their ideas. Like if they are in a situation of safety, unsafe situation, whom they will approach, whether it is their teacher or it is their caregiver or it is their parent, in what way, like how they will be. And when it comes to school, there is also, in India, we have a number wherein children could call, they could get a counseling, they could address what's happening to them. So that type of mechanism is available. But how far the children know those things, that's very important. That also it's given to them for them to understand and reciprocate. That is what for the older kids, it's a normal training. Like I told about a life-size chart where children play and they understand. Like if there is do's and don'ts for every hazard and do's and don'ts for protective mechanisms for them. If they are if they need a first aid help, what they will be need to do. So that type of, like, they need to come across a situation for them to understand what they will be in a position to just do or reciprocate, how they will be in a position to address that situation. So like that for the older kids. For the young children, it's very cartoon way and some type of storytelling, and they understand that. But for the older kids, it's in a different mode. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, thank you. So you mean that you will teach for all children, right? From 5 to 10, but different
Yes.
way, different approach. Yeah,
Yes.
very good. Yeah. So how about the role of the children? I mean that for the training. So you mainly train for the teacher, and the teacher will train for the student, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Andrews.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I also have one question for Mr. Rekha Lala. So I'm very like your presentation, and you mentioned about the calculator footprint in the school as well. So I wonder that can you please share more about this? And is this difficult to do this in the school, because it's quite new topic for me, and I think we have not yet done in the school in Vietnam. So I really hope that you can share more about this. Thank you.
I think I've shared my email ID. So if you send me, I will send you all the details how you can do it in Vietnam.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Rakhalala. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chan. Mr. Andrew, there are a few questions for you as well in the chat. There was one question when you were giving presentation is, why is the Safe School Facilities and Environment pillar separated from the DRR pillar? This is the first question. And the second question just now is from Lizzie. What do we do when we as a civil society are restricted to accessing the site of the disaster? Is there any protection for civil society action?
I don't think so. There is any, actually, when it comes to school safety program, it's not, environment is not a separate one, because school environment I mean to say the safe environment within the school and outside the school. That's what the environment I mean to say. Like it's not separated, it is within. It is one pillar, and school disaster risk reduction is another pillar. That's what we have taken it when it comes to comprehensive school safety program. And for your second question, like when it comes to CSOs are involved for emergency responses. It's not without civil society organizations, how an emergency response can be in a position to be addressed. Like I am a part of a civil society organization. Like we are doing emergency responses. If there is an emergency that is arising anywhere, wherever the location is there, which is in dire need, first we monitor the situation. Then we could, if there is a need for us to address, yes, we do address the response with the response, properly response. That also comes with a lot of the need-based approach that we just take, logistics and other humanitarian methods that we just impart and address that issue. It's not like that CSOs doesn't participate. We do participate and do the response.
One more question. What are procedures of establishing safety and security committees, and these schools committees can be applied in a higher learning institution?
First we need to have a proper, we need to start with a proper dialogue with all the stakeholders, because dialogue is very important. When we started this work, there were a lot of hiccups, and we also faced a lot of challenges, because working with, because education department by itself cannot do this. We need to bring in a lot of synergy and coordination from other partners, other line departments. Like, first of all, it needs to be a willingness to adopt, and political will should be there, wherein, because there were 3 departments involved in this. One is disaster management and civil defense. Secondly, it was women and child welfare department. Then it is health. We all this work with the education department. Like, they couldn't, because these are all technical supporters which will provide technical support, but when it comes to operational lead and focus, education will take the lead and do the program. So that's how it functions. We cannot what to say, by ourselves we cannot move in as long as the coordination is not proper.
Okay, so one more question in the chat. what is the way to multi-disaster management like COVID-19 for social distancing during the pandemic and cyclone post and pre-moving with million people, including children and old people? Sir?
It's for me?
I think it's open.
Oh, okay. I think Ma'am Rekha can address this.
Ma'am Rekha wants to leave. She needs to join on the tutoring program, program.
Okay, if you ask me about COVID-19, COVID-19 is an evolving situation. It's very dynamic. Everyone is learning from whatever that has been happening in the past 2.5 years. But when the school reopens, because many states, different rules and regulations have been laid in advance for the schools to open. Because schools opening is not a big thing. Schools can really open, but what are the precautions that they need to address? What are the pre things and post things? How they will be in a position to adopt in the newly when they open the schools? That is very critical. Children's mindset, for example, wearing the mask, whether children are in a position to wear the mask, because we are vaccinating now 15 years and above. But still, 2 vaccines given, booster doses given, but still our way of life changing attitude, because our behavioral change needs to happen. For that, there need to be a lot of coaching and mentoring and a lot of training at the school level. It should have a synergy. The focus needs to be within the school level. And supporting mechanisms like WASH. WASH is a very critical role the school has to take. The WASH facilities in school has to have a bigger, which will impact a lot of outcomes when it comes to the pandemic. So those things need to be addressed in the school so that the pandemic level will come down. Children getting affected, it will come down. It's not, because if that needs to be come down, the behavioral change and supporting mechanisms need to improve in our schools.
Thank you. I think now we don't have any more questions. So we should conclude this session now. And I'm grateful to all the speakers, Mr. Andrew, Mr. Rekha, Mr. Anil, to joined us and share their valuable time with us, and all the participants as well. I know many of you have joined us in the early morning, from morning 5 to morning 7 from your respective place. And thank you very much. We will meet you tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll be discussing more about how to make the transportation to school safer. And another important topic in a school is related with WASH in school. So tomorrow we will be discussing on both the topics. And please don't worry about the presentations and the mentioned documents. What we are doing is we're collecting all the documents and presentations, and after this 3 days we will send all the documents, recordings and presentations to all of you. We have your email addresses and everything we have with us, so don't worry. You don't need to put it in your email ID even in chat box. We have it all. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.